We have APIs with 600 different applications so that all that knowledge about alerts is going through PagerDuty. But here's the interesting part. Not only are we moving from function to function within a company, we have become a multi-product company. You talked about on-call, you talked about alerts. We are driving the analytics, but here's what's the interesting dynamics that's going on. Think about it. Is it all about humans or is it about robotics? It's about artificial intelligence. It's about machine learning. What if we unload humans' efforts into processes that happen that are repeatable and make it machine learning? That's the role of automation. So, absolutely. Can we automatically drive a self healing environment which automatically heals it, fixes it without even human intervention? So that you're moving as a company from reactive to a disruption to proactive. And that's what we drive in terms of the maturity curve and are helping customers to move from reactive to proactive. Because customer experience is going to a completely new level. 30% of companies hear their problem disruption in their digital environment from customers. What if so many of our customers are talking about, can we proactively engage the customers and predict that we are going to have a potential disruption? And how do you move a company from proactive to reactive and bring in the machine learning, automation, human, and create that magic? And recently, we acquired a company called Catalytic that is driving no-code workflows, because this isn't, again, about engineers. Like I mentioned earlier, it's about, and we'll talk more about it, use cases that our customers are using us for that we hadn't even fathomed. But think about a platform that we just launched, which is a workflow platform that is flexible, that allows customers to drive anything all the way from legal organizations to HR organizations to sales organizations to manufacturing flows, with PagerDuty as the brain in the middle of that.
I got to hear some of these use cases, because I know of one that you mentioned earlier. Like at the core of this is a better customer experience, right? And I was flying Delta Airlines, and flights got delayed. Makes total sense. It happens all the time. The big difference between Delta and every other airline was when I landed, it already figured out a better path and rebooked me and asked, do I accept it? Meaning I landed, I got an alert. Hey, you've been delayed. Here's a new alternative path. Do you accept it? Of course I said yes, accept. Like why would I say no? And I don't know if it was a person that did that, if it was AI, probably a combination of both. But it was the first time I really thought like a business was proactively looking out for me, kind of like what you said. And I was like, man, this is really great. Like they're actually doing this for me. I think about my credit card companies that proactively look out for me with my notifications, real-time alerts on people that are putting inquiries on credit reports. But it makes me feel good that it's like real time, constantly thinking like, am I doing this stuff? And it's easy to approve. But I was hoping to hear some of the other use cases and things that you're seeing, because you're probably seeing so many different companies. And like you said, they're pushing the forefront. And just like you said, when you're by acquiring low code or no code tooling, must mean that there are solutions being born from non-technical people, more like ops side people that are like, hey, if I had this solution, I could solve this problem. And you're seeing that like, well, let's give them a way to build that. So I got to hear, what are some of these things that are happening that are like kind of defining the new world of customer experience and customer service?
You bring up a very good point about Delta Airlines. I had a similar experience as global services member at United Airlines. And what are we doing today in the world? We want everyone to have that experience. It doesn't matter what tier of a consumer you may be.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of use cases. A major grocery store in North America has 2,000 stores, 20,000 people working in their stores. Do you know that food recall happens about 4 to 5 times a week, if not more, at a grocery store?
No idea. I mean, I see it on the news every now and then, and you see like, oh, you got to destroy or toss whatever this is, but it's I mean, that news doesn't break 4 or 5 times a week.
Exactly. It's a reactive versus proactive. They are rolling out PagerDuty to all of their 20,000 employees so that there's an alert when there's a food recall where the clerk who's sitting on the aisles and loading up the shelves doesn't load them. So that
Mm,
there is a complete communication through the entire value chain of the grocery store to the point that the checkout cash register also gets that alert so that by
mm.
mistake, if it has gone onto the checkout, that the customer doesn't pick up that lettuce and walk away with it so that they don't have to listen to the news. Because remember, we've got a data overload. I don't listen to the
Yeah,
news about food recall. That's about being proactive, right? That's about
that
being
is.
proactive. Let me give you another example where it's become life and death. I was sitting in London talking to Cambridge Cognitive CTO, having a CXO level discussion with him. Do you know what he shared with me? He
What's
shared
that?
with me that they work with patients that are more aged who are getting dementia and others, but they're also working with mental health in reference to suicides. And based on some questions that a potential, they call them customer, but a patient is answering certain questions with a higher propensity to commit suicide. And the alerts that go into a clinician and the doctors are all recorded in PagerDuty. And
Hmm.
based at the end of it, if they can save the life of a patient, they can go back on what they did right so that they can repeat it. And vice versa, looking at all the various steps because PagerDuty is tracking every single step that has happened until that event occurred. And if somebody passed away, they can go back and look at it. Think about it. PagerDuty is saving lives. PagerDuty is at the heart of this mental health, which has become such a big thing in this current environment, and we are saving lives. I can go on and on with other stories in reference to the various providers of energy and electricity and how are they reducing truck rolls when there's an outage due to maybe a hurricane on the East Coast, a fire in the West Coast, a storm in the
Hmm.
Northeast, and how are they using us? Because that's an alert as well. So it's not just about saving human lives. It's not just about FDA approvals for a biotech company. It's not about food recall, but it is about the current environment where the mass resignations are occurring. It's about providing more sleep to an engineer at night. It's about employee retention. But here's where interesting things are happening. Where if, as we are driving ROI for customers, where we have from 300 to 900% return on investment within months, we are also improving the life of human beings. We are focusing on companies' top line, where customers now are spending more time on innovation and growth as expensive engineers and feeling a sense of purpose in the company versus resigning and going to another company. It's at the heart of customer experience and employee experience all coming together. And PagerDuty is at the heart of that.
When you were telling those stories, I was thinking about what I just watched with my kids or my son over the weekend. In the past, I'd worked with Yu Chin Lee, who is now the CEO of Allegro, but he was part of the MIT card counting team, and we watched that scene where the people kind of like what you were talking about. Like the security team is literally watching tape all day long, and they're trying to spot things, right? But just like you said, if you spend too much time doing something, monitoring, hoping, waiting. I'm waiting for something to happen and nothing happens, then that signal when something does happen becomes noise and then you don't see it. You somehow don't see it or you miss it. And I was thinking about the way you described the medical field, right? How what if I had a system that said you don't need to overthink about your patients now. You can focus on doing your research or whatever it is you do best. But in the event that something critical is about to occur, I'll tell you then. and you can pay attention to this. And if you are doing this with confidence and we're not hitting false positives, then that lets me hit exactly what you said, which is I can spend more time doing probably whatever it is I'm best at. And then when that situation does occur, I can handle that situation. Now I'm handling both. And I was thinking about also when you were talking about that grocery and just thinking about, man, it is so hard because I've worked as a stock clerk. To roll something back, it took forever. You couldn't reach the employees. You had to like do an all hands meeting. By then, who knows how many bags of lettuce you've sold? Like you have no idea. If I'm a stock handler, I just throw it on the shelf. Like it's not really, I don't think about things like that. And like you said, I don't read, if I was a stock handler, I wouldn't read the news either to see like, oh, I shouldn't put this on the shelf. I just have an order, put it on the shelf. It's there, right? To be able to alert someone in real time. This speed to notification, is that what brought you here? Because you didn't start at PagerDuty. You came here more recently, but like, did you start seeing this happening? We're like, man, this is the future. Like everyone's going to need a tool like this to react faster. What brought you to the company and what made you say like, hey, this is where I want to be next?
I love this question because it wasn't just about my thinking. A lot of people influenced me on joining PagerDuty.
Okay.
I was doing extremely well at Salesforce. I loved the company. They are the innovators of SaaS. They are leading edge in customer success in post-sales. For PagerDuty, it's not just the technology. It's the people, the culture, the values, and the vision on where the company is going. So there are multiple dimensions of me joining PagerDuty. Our CEO, Jen Tejada, our CRO, Dave Justice. And I've known Dave Justice through Cisco and Salesforce and have a huge trust in him. The conversations, the vision Jen has as steering us into becoming $1 billion, I spent a few months with both of them and was so convinced about it.
Hey, thanks for watching. This segment is brought to us by Salesforce Platform. Visit salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role. Subscribe to this channel and get more great IT and tech interviews with top industry leaders.